You are, let's be honest, watching episode 88 of the Industry Nonsense podcast. It's an allegedly audio podcast as well, I think. Maybe. Ish. Not really. Anyway, so in this episode, we're going to be talking about the National League East, which basically is me talking about Juan Soto and Dave talking about some other teams I probably don't care about. And also, we're going to be talking about a little bit of the QB carousel, and I'm going to have a little fun talking about how crypto has saved me one step in the annoying process of extracting my glorious degenerate gambling wealth. That and more in this episode of the Necessary Nonsense Podcast. Now that is a tease. I'm Carlos.
I like
That's
it.
Dave.
I like it, man. It is a good one.
Yep. So what's going on this week?
Well, this week has been a little bit of computer issues because so on was it the beginning of this week? Yeah, I guess was the beginning or something, or it happened. I don't know. Whatever. Point is, 2 weeks ago, it was sometime not last week, but the week before. I was at work and my computer started just kind of going really slow, and then the spinning wheel of death came on, and then it just kind of wouldn't do anything. So I forced it to shut down, and when I turned it back on, I either got the the do not come in sign, or the circle with the line through it,
Okay.
or a folder with a question mark on it. So I took it in to get it repaired, came back, turned on, great, everything's good. Started doing some video conferencing where I had to switch through a bunch of tabs and stuff as I was teaching. Same thing happened. So I took it back, another repair, got it back, same thing happened again. So I'm now on the third time of having the computer back, and we'll see. So if I just disappear during the middle of this podcast, that's why. Either that or I've been abducted by aliens.
Either way, we can make it work.
Yeah, I feel you can carry on.
Oh.
You and your glorious sports memorabilia in the background. But the good news, I've only had to pay for the repair once. So
That'd be good. Yeah, that's probably a good thing. Yeah.
So we'll see if round 2, round 3, how that does. This is round 3. So we'll see how that does. Otherwise, it's kind of been same old. It was nice to actually go outside in the yard today because it was nice.
Yep.
And,
yesterday it was actually pretty chilly, but today it definitely warmed up.
Yeah. So it's nice. It's always nice when the sun's out, even if it's cold. But you know what I've realized, Carlos, and you can tell me that I'm strange or whatever adjective you want to use, because
that ship has sailed.
You will.
Yep.
But I've realized that I would actually prefer to be on a patio in the dead of winter in my winter gear than I would in the springtime.
Why?
Because I don't know, there's just something about there's something about the spring. It's not patio season, but for some reason being cold makes me want to drink. I feel it has to do with
the being cold makes you want to drink. I can relate to that, but I don't need to be on a patio for it.
Well, no, but I feel that has something to do with our many trips to Buffalo and Buffalo games in the cold.
I believe that is due to your derangement. That's different.
Well, whatever. But I'm just saying that's what I learned this week, because I'm see all these people out on a patio today. And I'm because I had to go pick something up, and I'm thinking, yeah, no, I could do without it right now. But if it was minus 15, I'm in my snowsuit and I'd happily be on a patio.
Interesting.
How about you, Carlos? How was the week that was Carlos?
Well, it's finishing up work at the old gig and then anticipating the new one. Part of that is redoing our feng shui. So now we got the new background here, as you already referenced.
I like it. Although I feel someone could literally come out of any of those doors behind you and murder you on air, which would be kind of scary. But other than that,
it would. But given that that's the back of the house and I'm on the second floor suspended, it would basically require levitation followed by attempted murder. Which I'm game for.
Okay.
Yeah, because if someone wanted to come in the front door, the path would actually be right here.
So, but yeah, it looks good. It don't get me wrong. Do you want to explain some of the things to the people watching that you have behind you?
I can explain a couple of them. So first of all, we have the 16x20 Mike Modano Detroit Red Wings autograph. Then we got the Raleigh Fingers 8x10. So we got
Nice.
that.
I believe I have the same picture.
Yep. So this one here is the Green Bay Packers. I guess like the felt multiple logo
Yep.
thing.
Yep. I have the Saints one.
This one here, which is just a little bit out of frame, that's the Phil Esposito autograph. This is a replica of 4 Packer tickets from the Super Bowls.
Can you see you can see what's behind you, right?
That's how I'm pointing.
Yeah, good. No, I was gonna say, because I was gonna say, if you can't, then your pointing is like expert. I was like, did you practice this before?
Oh yeah. You just gotta look. You gotta look at it and orient yourself. It's a little tricky, but you have to get used to just being in reverse. So then we start off with bobblehead shelf at top. Some Medano stuff right here. Some more bobbleheads here. Then right at the bottom, we've got a handful more just to finish things off.
Solid.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a better backdrop for a lot of this stuff. Now, the one thing I'll have to figure out is the lighting situation. I've got the light that I usually use right there, but it's behind me a little bit instead of in front of me. So right now we're using the blinding light of my screens. But I'll figure it out.
No matter what, in that room, you're pretty much staring into the sun.
Correct. Yes, and literally the window is behind this monitor. So yes, during the day I'll be staring into the sun.
Yeah. So it's like, there's no way you can't not stare into the sun.
Yeah, but I would say though it's a little bit better for it is a better lighting situation for video. Like at night, right now it's at night, and right now, ideally, I don't know if I'm going to do it. This is something I'm kicking around. I may do like a track light thing up here, something like that, because they would make sense to have the light come straight down, and this would be a better lighting situation. I don't know. Well, I'll play around with it. Either way, I wanted to redo the office for a while, so this is a perfect excuse. So that is the week and weekend that was so far.
Perfect.
Yes. So a couple of quick things. I'm going to share with you a little story. Let's do a little degenerate gambling followed by crypto.
All right. We talking Bitcoin or sorry?
We'll get into that. All
right.
All right. So first order of business. We know about my glorious degenerate gambling. I gotta do my my wagers. So during the Super Bowl, I ran a series of wagers as I decided to ride the good fortune of the faux goat all the way to the house. Hate wagering them all the way, but. And here's the beauty, and I'll share with you a story about the faux goat as well. So as I had that, so the money is in the account in the online sportsbook, which is fine. But at some point, I was like, well, I kind of would like to be able to extract some of my winnings because I basically tripled my money over the course of the playoff.
Nice.
Because I won so many of these bets for the most part, is that I just kept increasing, and it's like as I'm doing well, I would love to take some of my profit, claim it a little bit for myself. That'd be nice. So I was like, okay, so what do I need to do? I looked into it and I was like, okay, so usually you have to fill in a lot of paperwork, give us a copy of your passport, your driver's license, blah, blah, blah. A lot of paperwork to be like, confirm your identity, then link your bank account, do all this stuff. And I'm like, it's such a pain. But then I saw that my friends at the online sportsbook is like, oh, you can also cash out in Bitcoin. And I'm like, what? Tell me more. So I went in looking into it. Now, this is a very intricate process. So I'm going to explain to you the process of validating yourself when you're getting paid in Bitcoin.
Okay.
You go in, you click on the withdrawal thing, you figure out the amount that you want, and then you click on the validation thing. It asks you for your cell phone number. So you give the cell phone number. And then it sends you a text message with a code. You punch in the code and you're validated. And I was like, yes. I was like, so I went in. Now, this is the key. This key is the second part. Once you validate it, which is very simple, obviously, I just explained it. Then you have to give the code to your virtual wallet. So anybody who's more familiar with crypto understands this concept. You give the little code to the wallet, which tells it exactly where to go because of the instructions. And you make sure you got to copy and paste that thing, because if you punch it in manually and you screw up, you're basically sending the Bitcoin into the ether or to nowhere or to somebody else.
So someone's just like, hey, I just got a bunch of Bitcoin.
Yeah,
sweet.
Like, make sure you copy and paste that thing. Make sure you copy and paste, because the things will allow you to. Just copy it and paste it. It's better. So anyway, so I did that, and it takes about 3 days. So the first day is like validation, and then on Friday, I got the email saying, new funds in your account. I'm like, sweet. So now I am the proud owner of almost $600 additional in Bitcoin.
Nice.
So it's like, score.
So what you plan to do with what's the long-term goal with your Bitcoin?
Right now, most of it, I'm just gonna hang on to it. I now with that little mini windfall from my wins already that I had, I was like, now I've probably got like $1,200-$1,300 worth of Bitcoin. So it's not like super crazy, but at the same time, like there's no reason for me to do anything. Like half of it was basically winnings.
Is it possible the way that the cryptocurrency works that you could lose money though, right? If the value of Bitcoin goes down?
Of course.
Whereas if you just take it in cash, you have cash.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
it's the
so,
same. It's the same thing as it's the same. The thing is, it's one of those things where the nature of cryptocurrency is such that it can go. Of course, it can go to zero, but most of the time, it's just oscillates up and down based on the exchange at the time.
yeah.
And the reality is that right now we're in an interesting era where a lot of things are starting to use the currency. Obviously, I was able to do it with the sportsbook and cash out in Bitcoin for simplicity to make the cash out easier for me. But the other aspect of it is, like Tesla bought over $1 billion of Bitcoin. PayPal is now going to allow Bitcoin related payments.
Hmm.
So, like, there's all these different companies that are financial companies or transactional companies that are doing it that are incorporating that into their setup.
Yeah.
So, it's one of those things where it's like, as it gains certain mainstream acceptance, the likelihood is that it'll stay. Now, does that mean it's going to go to the moon? Because that's always what the enthusiasts are like. Oh my God, it's going to go to the moon. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. To be honest, like right now, Bitcoin in Canadian dollars is like trading at about like 74,000, 73,000 thereabouts, somewhere in that neighborhood. I can actually tell you real quick here. Yeah, 73,000 and change. So that's it's quite a bit. But here's the truth. Okay, so let's say it goes crazy. So I snap my fingers, and by next week it's 150,000 Canadian. It doubled. So it went from like 1,200 to 2 grand.
Yeah.
Okay, is that life changing? Do I care?
No.
Not really. No, it's cool. I'm not gonna complain. But it's one of those things. Like I've been buying little bits here and there, and I kind of want to hang on to it. And if down the road it goes up a little bit, I may cash some of it out. I may keep some of it. I'll probably keep some of it at all times because I wish I had kept some of that I bought in 2017 because I was buying it when it was like 14,000.
Right.
And I had a little bit laying around where I would have. It wasn't. To be honest, when I cashed it out, it wasn't. It was like a couple $100. It's like, to be honest, but that couple $100 would be worth like 1,000 today.
Hmm.
So it's like I would have been better off just because like for $100 or $200, just leave it. Like what difference would it have made at that time? Not much. Today it would still be not super crazy, but I'd already have it. So it'd be like just stacking it up. So we'll see. We'll see how the whole thing goes. One of the big things that is going to be is that I think in Canada we've approved a Bitcoin ETF.
Okay.
So it's been approved. So it allows institutional investors to invest in Bitcoin that way.
Nice.
That may or may not lead to an inflation and a growth in that as well. So it's one of those things. Let's put it this way. Either nothing happens in the next year or so, or it goes stupid hyperbolic and it goes to like 300 or 400,000 or something stupid.
Right.
And if that happens, then I chuckle. It's not like I have so much that it's like, but if I turn it into like 3, 4, 5 grand, okay, cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I wouldn't cry about that. I wouldn't cash it all out though. To be clear, I'd hang on to some. But in that situation, I would take some profit. I'd be like, okay, if it goes to like 5 grand, okay, I'll leave $1,000 worth in there and then take the rest in cash.
Yeah, for sure.
Something like that. And great, that's most of the way to a Rolex right there. Sounds like a win to me.
Nice.
But that's what I mean. Like I can use it practically for something else. So it's like,
Yeah.
But for now, it's like no, just let it sit there, let it do its thing. Whatever the market does, I'll keep an eye on it. But I'm not sitting here worrying about it day to day.
Right.
So that's the first piece. Second piece. So I was doing a live stream last night. So that left me a little bit tired today. So I was trying to take it easy. But then I had to do errands with the parents to help them out a little bit with the grocery shopping. So I was doing the live stream, and towards the tail end, someone made the crucial error. They were trying to get into a protracted Tom Brady argument with me. And I was sitting there like, I was like, children.
Does this person know you?
No, clearly not. But it was funny because the guys that I was on there with, we were all dying. And I was literally like, at one point I was like, it's like, what is, and I was talking to the one guy, I said, Steve, when will these children learn that I'm trolling them? When will they learn that I'm trolling them so hard? And as soon as you get mad, then I'm really having fun with you now.
Of course.
It got to the point that the guy got so mad. He goes, just like, you're a clown. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, oh, I'm winning this so hard. You don't even understand. Like, I've just provoked you. I've poked you so hard.
What was the crux of the argument for the
crux of the argument was always the same. It's like, oh, he's got 7 Super Bowls. Like, that's a team stat. So what? He's got, congratulations. He goes, have you seen him throw? I was like, yeah, I've seen him throw. He's got above average arm strength and decent accuracy. He can hit open receivers. So can a high school quarterback. Congratulations. Like I just Don't make it so easy. If you react, I'm going to be amused and I'm going to have more fun with you. I am so going to have more fun with you.
Did the Tom Brady thing come up in the conversation though in general? Like,
Yeah.
or did this
Yeah.
guy just know you from before and was like, I'm going to argue with Carlos about why
No,
Tom Brady's the GOAT?
I was taking some fun pot shots as we were talking about some football related things. I usually take little pot shots. It's
Okay, okay.
him and Trout. They're my standards. Like
Of course.
my whipping boys. I always
Yep.
have a little bit of fun. But we always having a little bit of a laugh about it. And we're interspersed talking about some other stuff, goats in some other sports like LeBron, Jordan. We were having general like sports conversation towards the tail end, having some fun with it. But it's fun. Like you can't take it too serious. But it's like I've had this happen before as well. Like a couple of episodes before, I had I was having a protracted debate with one of them about one of them just insisted on trying to argue for Trout, and I was like, "Oh, you're going to my other wheelhouse." Oh my God. I was like, you're making this so easy. So at a certain point, like once he got super frustrated, I was driving him nuts. I was like, okay, I'm kind of bored of this conversation now. So I just blocked the guy and I go, listen, so we agree. Tom Brady's overrated trash, right? So listen, I'm going to take silence as acquiescence. I was like, okay, then we agree. Fantastic. Phenomenal. And then I spent the rest of the live stream taking little pot shots again.
Nice.
Towards the end, it's like, see, it's like it works. Like as the playoff was going on, I was like, this is basically Trent Dilfer 2.0. And the
Did
other
you
guy
bring
was like,
did you bring up the at any point did you bring up the Tom Brady impressed me less this year than he ever has?
I did, but that's what I was referring to. It's like, oh, the way that playoff was going, it's basically Trent Dilfer 2.0, and the other guy just starts laughing. The ones I was on the screen with, he laughing. Oh, Trent Dilfer 2.0. It's like, oh yeah. But in
Pretty
fairness,
much though. I mean,
no,
that's not like that far from the truth.
no, but true, but I have to dig the needle a little deeper as well. So it's like, yeah, well, I often say that Tom Brady is like a poor man's Trent Dilfer. And then they start laughing. It's like, oh yeah, poor man's Trent Dilfer. It's like, oh yeah. Well, Trent Dilfer's an athlete. Have you seen Tom Brady try to run? Like Trent Dilfer could actually run. He's an athlete. Tom Brady isn't to that level.
Please tell me this person that was on the Tom Brady bandwagon and does not understand Carlos. Please tell me they did not try to argue that Tom Brady is the greatest athlete of all time.
He wasn't trying to argue greatest athlete of all time too much. But he was,
Good.
but he was literally like, he's like, Carlos, he's the GOAT, admit it. I'm like, but then the best part is when he wrote that, he wrote GOAT with a small G. And I'm like, you're making this too easy for me. You're making this. So it's like, so you admit it. That's a small G GOAT. It's like mountain goat. That's like baby goat. Maybe someday if he gets better. It's like there's a difference between small G and big G, my friend.
Goodness.
We're talking about big G goats here, not small G, little tiny goats. No, none of that.
That's funny.
But I was like, the moral of the story is don't make it easier for me. Don't play directly into my game.
Look, if you're gonna go with Carlos, you got to come prepared. This man was clearly not prepared.
The problem is all his arguments was like, so congratulations, you found Wikipedia. You went in Wikipedia Tom Brady, or you went to like Pro Football Reference and looked at the top line.
Honestly, if you're gonna argue only metrics, I mean that's part of the debate in any sport is. But if you're like I said, we've had this conversation before. If your argument is, well, you had to win the most Super Bowls to be the GOAT, okay, Tom Brady's a GOAT. Like you can't, because it's inarguable. Because he has 7 Super Bowls, and nobody else has 7 Super Bowls.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah, but my thing is always it's like I reject that metric. It's one of those things. Like as a metric, I think it's a flaw. It's a flawed stat because like you don't have control over that. You can help the situation, but you could just as easily have a nearly perfect performance, make great throws, and everybody drops them, and you lose.
Correct.
Doesn't matter. Like you could do technically everything right and lose. So it's like it's a very dependent sport.
Or you could, just have your defense do everything for you, and therefore the other team's so inept on offense it doesn't matter.
Correct.
See Trent Dilfer, see Tom Brady this past year.
Yeah, well, see Tom Brady the last 2 Super Bowls. The last one with New England, like he didn't really do much. So it's like
was that the one? Was that the St.
LA
Louis
Rams?
one?
The LA Rams. Yeah, like that.
Oh yeah, they were LA at that point. Yeah,
he didn't do a lot in that one either.
But thankfully, neither of us watched that game.
Correct. But that's the thing. It's like it was part of the fun because one of the guys basically summarized it beautifully. He goes, Carlos, I don't understand why they try to engage with you on this one. He goes, you're basically trying to troll a troll. And I go, yeah. At one point I did.
And you're doing a better job of it.
Yeah, well, you could try, yeah. But I did. But
Now,
I
was
did.
this all typed out or was this audio?
Well, the chat. It was the chat. He was trying. He
Okay.
was typing it out, and like it was very sad. He was just trying to go and go, and I was having so much fun. Like I'm just gonna keep poking. But then, but it was funny because at one point I referred to himself with what will be one of my new monikers. I have many monikers at this stage, but one of my new monikers will be as as a professional hater. That is kind of my sub profession. I like to be a
Yeah.
professional hater on weekends. Like don't test me on this.
But at least you
Like,
come backed up with something. It's not that you're just like, Tom Brady's not the GOAT. Why? Because I said so. Right? Like you actually have reasons
oh no,
why you would argue that.
he is not an unimpeachable candidate for that. Not an unimpeachable because there is plenty. You can build a case against him. You can build a case, and I have in the past built cases against the guy to be in that category. You want him to be in the conversation, sure, but then when we're talking about the best of the best, we get to split hairs. That's what people don't understand. We get to split hairs. Every little flaw we can dissect.
Absolutely.
And that, like, you want to be in that conversation, you get to be in that conversation then. But that means every little flaw in your game, every chink in your armor, we get to talk about all of those.
Yep.
Otherwise, let's not talk about goats then.
So speaking of goats, can we move on and talk about the Young Goat King?
We can. I think it's only the right thing to do.
So Young Goat King, for everyone who doesn't know, that's Jameis Winston, has signed for next year. He has signed a $12 million 1-year deal with the Saints. So it's not all guaranteed money. There's a bunch of incentives in there. But it really looks like he's going to be, provided, camp goes well, that he is going to be the Saints starting quarterback.
It does appear to be that way.
And just so you know, Carlos, because this is the fun thing in the troll game. So I'm not sure how aware you are because you're not a fan like I am, but the Saints had some really severe cap issues this year.
Yes.
Right.
We did discuss that though. We did talk about that a little bit.
Right.
Yes.
So that involved a bunch of cuts and a bunch of some restructurings of the deal. One of the deals they decided to restructure to move some money even further down the road is Taysom Hill.
Lovely. And
so Taysom Hill is officially signed to a 4-year, $140 million deal.
You know what? I did hear about this.
And if you break it down, the best part here is
this is like with zero guaranteed money, basically. Like
pretty much
it's like a deferred.
And it's all voidable. I think there might be some guaranteed money like this year.
Yeah.
But it's all voidable after this year.
Yeah.
So basically, nothing in terms of what he's actually getting paid, nothing changes.
Yeah.
But the best part about it is that when it's divided up and everything, he's making the same amount of money on paper as Russell Wilson.
Seems legit.
And I feel I feel the Saints just did that to troll the Seattle Seahawks because Russell Wilson is saying he is displeased with obviously Seattle right now. So there was some talk about potentially trading for him or whatnot, and by a bunch of teams. So I just think that's kind of funny that they did that. But it sounds like from the Saints locker room or from the head coach, the official word is they're going to compete for the starting job. But I think all indication points to Jameis Winston being the starter in September.
That is why I leave. That's why at the very end of this phrase, I leave the question mark. Is it at last time for justice for the young Goat King? Is this it? And by the way, note, capital G in Goat. Capital G, people. Capital G.
It's important. So
it's a big difference.
So there you have it, man. Young Goat King. Potentially starting for the New Orleans Saints, and we'll see what happens. Obviously, the Saints are going to be a vastly different team, not just because Drew Brees retired, but because of all the cuts they had to make too. So that's where it is. But hey, it could be worse. You could be signing Mitchell Trubisky to back up Josh Allen. Carlos, please explain to me why the Buffalo Bills did this.
Because it's Buffalo and they like to watch the world burn. Literally, they're just like, what ridiculous. Could you imagine if for some reason Josh Allen twists his ankle? Heaven forbid. Heaven forbid. And you're okay, we're going to the backup. Mitchell Trubisky? No. So I was like, ooh.
And keep in mind, under regular NFL rules, not non-COVID rules, the Bears would not have made the playoffs last year.
Yeah, that's fair. It just wasn't good. Like it's one of those things. Like Trubisky just has his problems. He's got his struggles. But as a backup, I get. Here's the thing: as a backup, is he morally objectionable as a backup? Not really. But he's not a starter. But like as a backup, he is what he is.
Yep. He is. He's only making $2.5 million this year.
Yeah. So that,
So
that
he's
seems
nowhere.
fine.
He's nowhere near Taysom Hill money.
Yeah. Well, who is really?
Russell
Um,
Wilson.
yeah. Exactly. Um, but no, here's the thing: the Trubisky thing is fun to make fun of. I'm a lot more keen to make fun of like the Andy Dalton in Chicago. Well, like really, this is your best
Well,
option.
but here's the one thing. So here's the thing I have about Andy Dalton, right? So let's put it this way: Andy Dalton is a serviceable quarterback.
He is.
He's made the playoffs with Cincinnati. It's not like he's complete trash.
No.
Right? But the thing is, Andy Dalton was available last year.
Yep.
For probably similar money to what you're paying him now,
Yep.
or similar money to what he would have made last year. I don't know the exact figure to what he made last year. Right. This year he's making $3 million in base salary with a signing bonus of $7 million.
Right.
Right. So he's making more money than he made last year. But Chicago kind of went all in on Nick Foles last year with a bigger contract. I don't know how much of that was guaranteed or not. Which is kind of, didn't work out. But you could have had Andy Dalton last year. So if Andy Dalton is your answer, why didn't you just get him last year? Like, I don't, I mean, like Chicago in terms of their like long-term plan, I don't know if they have I don't even know if they really have a short-term plan, right? Because Chicago has a solid defense and they have some players on offense, right? They have Allen Robinson, right? The wide receiver. Who's their running back again? Can you remind me? Because I can't think of it off the top of my head. Yeah.
Is it
But
Montgomery?
Yeah, right. Dave Montgomery, right? So they have a solid, number one receiver. I think they have a solid, decent number two receiver too. I just can't remember the name right now. But they also have a solid running back. I mean, they have some pieces, right? You could argue that they're a quarterback away from being a legitimate contender. And Chicago has told us that Andy Dalton is the answer. I don't know.
Well,
I don't really know.
I don't know. I really don't know if he's the answer long term.
Well, that's true. Apparently, they were trying to move heaven and earth to get either Deshaun Watson or Russell Wilson, and they were both told no, under no circumstances.
Yeah, and that's a shame for them because like either one of those guys could really make them a lot more dynamic.
Absolutely. I mean, Deshaun Watson could be in a lot of trouble now.
He could be. But
right?
It's the NFL.
Well, that's true. I mean, he may be in trouble. It's true. I fear. I mean, in terms of looking at it, I think he's potentially more legal trouble than he is in trouble with the NFL.
That's what I mean. Yeah. So, but
I
get that, but it's one of those things where I have a feeling it'll be like I'm not going to diminish it. I'm not going to downplay it, but I have a feeling it's going to be one of those situations where maybe you have to cut a check. And again, we don't know like what the real situation is.
No, absolutely not. But I think that's the thing. But your point about not trying to not downplaying it, but that's kind of what the NFL does with these things.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's like, you know what? It's like a player will do something bad allegedly because there's just that's what we have to say right now. Yep. But in past, players have done things bad, or like for example, like the Ray Rice thing was on videotape. Everybody saw that.
Yeah.
And the NFL had that tape well before it was public and didn't really do anything about it. I don't trust the NFL to. So if I'm Deshaun Watson, I'm not worried about the NFL, mm-hmm. right? I would be worried about how this shakes down overall, but I wouldn't be worried about the NFL.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think, and also the Ray Rice thing had a different dimension in the sense that Ray Rice had been declining in performance.
True.
Like even after everything, Ray Rice would have been playing in the NFL if he had just come off like a career year or something. He would have been playing in the NFL. He just wasn't playing well, and this was just as good excuse as any to like cut bait with him.
Let right, for sure.
So now, by contrast, Deshaun Watson is still a very good player. So from the NFL football perspective, I think they'll be like, let's just see what the legal situation is. Pending your legal, you have to figure that out on your own. Get your lawyers to deal with it. You figure out your situation. If and when you're ready to go play, he'll have a spot on a roster.
Yeah, for sure.
What roster that's going to be, we don't know. But if he's able to play, he will play. And I think that's fair.
I think that's absolutely fair.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where we'll see. We'll reserve judgment just because we don't know what happened, and it's still being played out. Evidence is being gathered, more information is coming in all the time. So once we know a little bit more, we'll be able to be like, oh, okay, well, he's in real trouble, or oh, well, it looks like he's gonna get out of it, or whatever it is.
Yeah, for sure.
So we'll definitely see. But that does throw a bit of a wrinkle in a big piece of the QB carousel, because the Andy Dalton thing, that's not going to change life for anybody.
No.
I think honestly, Nick Foles didn't play well in Chicago. Nick Foles has struggled outside of Philadelphia. I did see some reports and some articles. Nick Foles might end up back in Philadelphia and have himself another little quarterback controversy with
Jalen Hurts now?
With Jalen Hurts, yeah. Well, the thing is, Jalen Hurts hasn't exactly proven himself. He hasn't exactly like convinced them. So it's one of those things where Nick Foles' greatest success was with the Eagles.
Yep.
So for whatever reason, like he's able to have some success over in Philadelphia. Maybe it's comfortable for him. He likes the uniform. I don't know.
Yeah. But it's interesting. Where is there? Actually, I just checked a second now. There are rumors out there that Nick Foles and the Eagles are talking, and the Bears are talking. So
that's what I mean. Yeah. So
we'll see.
there's a possibility, and maybe that's the best thing for Foles is just to be like, get back to Philadelphia.
Dude, I mean, that man's a legend in Philadelphia, no matter what.
Yeah.
Right. Like you won the Super Bowl in Philadelphia, so and you beat Tom Brady doing it, which is even better.
Yeah. Solidifying the fake goatness of Tom Brady.
Exactly.
Exactly. Like I said, permanently disqualified. Like losing to the backup quarterback and losing to Eli Manning, a 18th stringer.
What else needs to be said, right?
But that was one of my favorite lines from the stream. It's like he lost to Eli Manning twice. That's worth like negative 14 Super Bowls.
Now, how did that guy react to that?
Oh, lost his mind. It was beautiful. It was chef's kiss. All of it was chef's kiss, Dave. All of it.
It's just so easy, right? Like that's the thing, right? It's the people who are really on the Tom Brady GOAT thing, right? They lose their mind, and it's just so fun. Like you get like by the end of it, it's like I don't even care what I think. I don't even know what I think anymore. I just want to troll you because it's so easy and so much fun.
Well, that's the fun part is that he kept. That's why I said I knew I had won when he started trying to like name call because it's like, so you ran out of lame arguments, huh? The Wikipedia page doesn't have anything else for you. Nothing else on the Wikipedia page is nothing.
Right? Like it's like okay, and you're like, at the end of the day, like I don't
It doesn't
spend.
really matter. It doesn't.
But
matter.
I also don't spend like other than trolling people online or occasionally having it, maybe with one of my close friends or something, I might have a debate or something. Yeah. But honestly, like I don't think about it. It's not something I think about on a regular basis, right? Like I don't really care that much.
It doesn't make any difference in the day to day, other than that. That's why we got such a kick out of it. We sat there and we had some fun with it because that's what I said. The guys are familiar enough with my background on this. It's always been a bit of a running gag, a bit of a running joke. That they were sitting there going like, it's like, does this guy not get it? Does he not understand that it's like, because he's like, you're sitting there just smirking this whole time, and the more he buries himself, you're just like, I'm gonna have some fun now.
Oh, it just becomes easy because then it's like you point out something, or someone's like, man, he has 7 Super Bowls, and I'm like, yes, he does.
Well,
and
exactly. It's like
okay.
It's like that is factually correct, sir. Yes, it is. And your point is what?
So anyway, I didn't know we were gonna get this much Tom Brady trashing on here, but I like it, Carlos.
Listen, it's always perfect. It's always perfection.
And it's not like it's totally out of the realm of, it's not like we just out of the blue were like, hey, let's trash Tom Brady, right? It's, in relation to what we've been talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Hold on. I think I'm gonna have a little fun with this. I want to have one more thing before we move on to the big one.
All right, sounds good.
Let me see if I can do this here. I'm gonna try to do something interactive here. Bear with me 1 second.
Okay. Can I tell a story then as an update to something in right while you do that, or do you want me to wait?
You give me 10 seconds.
But Tom Brady trashing, always a good pastime, regardless of who you're talking to.
What's that? Sorry?
I said Tom Brady trashing is always a good pastime, regardless of who you're talking to.
Yes.
Because it's just like, you don't even have to, it's just like Tom Brady's not the GOAT. And just watch them go.
Yeah.
What I
wanted to do is I wanted to queue up because I have the live stream on the other screen. What I wanted to do is I wanted to queue up to a good section that we could listen to it for a couple of moments and analyze the anatomy of a good troll.
All right. So before we get there, may I mention this one thing because I did do my homework.
By all means.
So last week we had a conversation about Star Wars figures
Okay.
online, right? And how much they're going for on eBay. And you said check out episode 1 and see.
Yeah, and see what the situation is. Yeah.
Right? So what I found is the closer you get to today, like in terms of the newest toys, are the most expensive ones. And the further you go away, so if you go to like what's episode 1 called? I can't remember. Phantom Menace. The Phantom Menace, right?
Yeah.
Those toys are relatively decent.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
And even before then, the ones that came out like about the original movies before, when they got re-released in the 90s are also fairly reasonable. Other than maybe the odd, depending on the character run.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But then as soon as you go like Attack of the Clones and like it just gets more expensive the closer you get to, Mandalorian, which is the most recent toy.
I wonder if that may have to do with the possibility that because episode 1 was so far removed from the original trilogy, I wonder if that's because maybe the production numbers dropped because they made a ton for episode 1. I remember it being everywhere.
That's possible.
I wouldn't be shocked if maybe they saw like, okay, yeah, we made a ton. Did we sell a ton?
Because I found one where you could get like, you could basically almost get the whole set for like $42.
I believe it. Yeah.
Right, which is not unreasonable in any stretch. I don't know how much the shipping was, but it wasn't. You know what I mean? Like it was still reasonable, right? Versus depending on you're looking at the cheapest I've found anything is almost like close to $20 Canadian for episode 2.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so there's a big difference between episode 1 and episode 2, and then it just gets more as you go towards today.
That makes sense. I think it's always interesting to see like the analytics on it. They're like there's a breakdown to it, and it's like okay, I'm sure there's a rationale for it, but I'd be curious what it is.
Yeah, I don't know. It could be the production, or it could be right because I mean, if you look at it with a couple of exceptions, the characters in the movies are the same.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, obviously there's obviously like people who are in the first one who aren't in the second one, or in the second one who aren't in the first, et cetera, right?
Sure.
But the main people are the same.
Yeah. No, I get it. Like I said, I think when it comes to collectibles, I think the first is probably the one that's going to have the biggest print run, especially in a more modern era. Like obviously the original Star Wars toys would have been more limited just because nobody knew what the property was going to become. But then by episode 1, it was already a big property. And this was the first new movies in years. And it's like, oh my God, new movie, episode 1. So I bet they made a ton of it. That would be my guess. It's just a guess. Just my thought process on it. That makes sense. Very cool. Very cool. Okay. So let's do this thing. Let's have a little fun for a couple minutes here. Let's do this. So I'll hit on so I can share the audio. Don't want to miss out here. So here we go. So we got a lovely little, inception. And I got the chat over here as well. And that's here, just to give you a little taste. I'll read it to you because it's a little small.
Yeah, okay.
So this was, Paulie P was my victim in this one. So he goes, Carlos, lol, have you seen Brady throw a football? And I made fun of that. You better believe I made fun of that. He's like, what WTF are you talking about? His release, misspelled, but still. Release time and accuracy. Release time doesn't make any sense. Release, yes. Release time is not really a thing.
Well, he means how long it takes him to get rid of
it. Yeah, his release, yes. The time is redundant, but yes. And accuracy is unbelievable. Well, not quite there. And he goes, 7 Super Bowls. Enough said. That's why I said, like, he's concluding with the 7 Super Bowls over and over again. It's like, dude, really? Okay, so here we go. So let me play this back so you should have the audio as well.
Okay.
Yep.
So Paulie P is like, Paulie, you did goat with a small G, so even you agree. Not a real goat. So more like a mountain goat is what you're thinking?
It's a goatette.
More like a goat in training? Like maybe someday if he steps up,
Le goatette.
learns how to be an athlete, finds a gym, he can be a goat.
Le goot.
Yeah. You're making this easy, bro. You're making this easy for me. That's a small G. By the way, small G and large G is a real thing when you're doing these kinds of arguments. It's like, that's small G goat. That sounds like a written Freudian slip on your part. So we're talking about big G goats, not small G goats.
Can't blame it on lazy typing. Come on.
No, can't do it.
You're lazy typing.
You managed to capitalize Tom Brady twice. You managed to capitalize Tom Brady. You got that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
I think he replies right after. Yeah, here we go. Answer your question? Yes. If Tom Brady drops dead in the Super Bowl, the pylon wins. Garrett? Yes. Answer. Yes.
The pylon.
Yeah, the pylon wins. You're the one arguing with one. I'm having fun.
Robert Ory. Robert Ory's great, man. The guy only scored like.
So we did a little diversion there with Robert Ory, just talking about the amount of champions, because there was multiple threads going on in the chat.
Yeah.
Some folks were talking about like LeBron and Jordan a little bit. So there was actually multiple like bits in there. We kind of oscillated back and forth between them. There was another little bit right after that kept going because he basically eventually that was within a couple of minutes of when I finally like pulled the plug on him, because even the people in the chat were like, Paulie is upset. They were starting to troll him in the chat.
Amazing.
Yeah, so it's because Paulie at that point he goes, "You don't know shit. Are you for real?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I am." I was like, "Don't tempt me, sir. You're just making this easier." You keep digging and digging and digging, and during that bit where he's like getting really mad, I'm actually talking about the Robert Ory thing. I'm ignoring it, and I'll get back to it a little bit later. And then he runs to the receiving core thing, and then I had a really good line though, because he listed off. He's like, he never had Marvin Harrison, because this is the Peyton Manning comparison. He never had Marvin Harrison. I go, yeah, well, if he had Marvin Harrison, it wouldn't have worked out. Marvin Harrison's a talented receiver. He can't throw for beans, so he would have overthrown him. If he was like a good quarterback, he could have done something.
Oh, man.
I'm like, don't make this easier for me. You give me so much material.
Clearly the man just does not understand, Carlos.
No. So I thought I would give you a little clip, a little taste. I spent maybe about 10 or 15 minutes
That's beautiful. It really is.
It made for some solid streaming. Solid live stream. That's all I got to say about that. Now you know. So yeah, I have fun with that. I do it sometimes on Fridays, most often on Sunday evenings. And Oaks and Roberto have showed up in the chats from time to time. Those are some serious cameos. I laughed.
I love it, man. I love it.
All right. So enough of my fun. I've I've had some good Tom Brady trolling this weekend. So let's get to, because I think I've covered a lot of ground. We've done some crypto. We've even done the QB carousel. One thing that I definitely want to see, I still want to see where Deshaun Watson goes. I still want to see if Russell Wilson does get traded, though. I'm very curious about that.
I don't think that's going to happen. The way things are going, I really don't.
We'll have to see, but I feel like there's so many teams who would like make a play. I think we got to get to the draft. I think really getting close to the draft is really going to tell us a lot, because there's a lot of teams who have decisions to make. So don't be shocked if there's some kind of weird deal at the draft or something for one of these guys, or somebody makes a play for another quarterback at some point here. That would be my thought process.
Yeah.
All right, so lead us into the National League East.
All right. So here's what I'm thinking about when it comes to the National League East. I honestly feel that this is probably, from top to bottom, this is the best division in baseball.
Interesting.
Doesn't have the best team necessarily, but I feel top to bottom based on who's in the division and where they are. I think, especially if everyone's healthy.
Okay.
So I don't even know who I like the most. Here's the thing. I'll tell you this. I don't think Miami's going to win the division. And I did represent wearing my Miami Marlins. Notice I didn't say Florida this time. Shirt with good old D-Train Dontrelle Willis on it. Mm-hmm. So, but, they did get Gio Gonzalez. They did get Adam Duvall, which are their big pickups. I don't think they're going to be irrelevant, but I feel their starting pitching is just not quite there compared to other teams in the division. And I think that's what's going to be sort of Miami's downfall. I mean, hey, they did make the playoffs last year.
Okay. Yep.
So, all right. With the Phillies, maybe I'm going in reverse order, because I think Miami's going to finish last in the division, but they surprised us last year. But over 162 games, I don't think anything fluky is going to happen. So I don't think Miami's going to do very well. But we'll see. The Phillies still have a solid lineup. I kind of feel Philly is like the status quo, right? They didn't really bring anybody in of significance. They didn't really get rid of anybody of significance. They have Bryce Harper, who is overrated. And so, yeah, like the Phillies are kind of the Phillies, and they'll be okay. But I think based on the other teams in this division, I think they're going to finish in fourth.
Interesting. Okay.
Okay. And I think the Nationals. So the Nationals, this is what you need to know about the Nationals. And I'll let you talk after I'm done here because I know you want to say some things about the Nationals. But here's what you need to know. First of all, Scherzer, Corbin, Strasburg, and now the addition of John Lester and Juan Soto. You don't need to know anything else about the Washington Nationals.
Nope.
But they're probably going to finish third.
Probably. Yeah.
And then you got the Braves. The Braves have a formidable lineup. Obviously, they have Ronald Acuna. We know him. Freddie Freeman, right? They lost in the NLCS to the Dodgers last year, which they easily could have won. I mean, they had the 3-1 lead.
Mm-hmm.
They blew that one big time. And the Dodgers were there doing what the Dodgers have done previously, and then all of a sudden they didn't do it. So Atlanta had their chance. Mike Soroka should come back and be healthy at some point in the season. Most likely he's not going to start the season because he's got an Achilles injury. But he's on track to play this season and play the majority of the season.
Yep.
You also got Charlie Morton, who is good, but I don't know what Charlie Morton's going to be as a starting pitcher. I mean, the guy's 39. He's doing his best. Is he?
I think thereabouts. I feel like
he's doing his best Jamie Moyer impression, pretty much.
Well, the thing though is if he's able to, because Jamie Boyer was super effective at 40.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
So it's one of those things where, like, if he can, that would actually be really good. That would, because that means he'd have a couple of years there. 37 actually.
Okay.
Hey,
so
don't try to knock Charlie Morton. He's a couple months younger than we are. He's a young buck, Dave.
Yeah.
Don't try to prematurely age this man.
What is his actual birthday?
November 12th.
Okay. So yes. Yeah. Wow. But he had a good season last year, and he pitched. I mean, he pitched. Well, let's put it this way: he had a good postseason last year. He had a very mediocre regular season. But prior to that, right, his last full season in 2019, he was an All-Star.
Yep. And
he finished third in the Cy Young. So, to me, he's probably got lots left in the tank. So I think they're fairly solidified there. And obviously the Braves were good before, right? Yes. So you add a couple of pieces, you get somebody, one coming back from injury who is pretty good, another one who, is fairly solid. 2020 you can maybe write off, but the previous 2 years he was an All-Star. So I think the Braves are going to be right there, possibly winning the division. I think they're probably going to finish in second, but we'll see. Because here's the thing. The Mets are the Mets. So I'm penciling in very light pencil the Mets to win the division. I think the Mets probably did more offseason moves than any other team in baseball, including the San Diego Padres, right? They made a lot of moves. The biggest one is getting Francisco Lindor.
Yep.
Right? I mean, they have a new owner, who's put splashing the cash. So they got Francisco Lindor, they got James McCann, they got Villar, they got Kevin Pillar. Yes, that's not a typo, right? So it's like they took guys who were like previously starters and now are going to be bench players to the New York Mets. And then you have, as you're starting, you've got DeGrom, Carrasco, Stroman, Tajon Walker. You've got Noah Syndergaard, who's injured, but again should come back during the season. So you've got arguably, one of, I would say, without argument, but one of the best starting rotations in Major League Baseball, top to bottom. Not the best. I believe that belongs to the Dodgers, but within the National League, you're definitely in the top 5 in terms of starting rotations. Probably top 3. They also got Dellin Betances to kind of shore up the bullpen. I mean, they made a ton of moves. Mm-hmm. And I think that's. I mean, it's a question. Obviously, it's always a question of, is it going to, come back to them, right? Like, are they going to gel? But if I'm looking at this here and I'm just counting really quickly, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. They brought in an entire roster, right?
Right.
Now, obviously, not all those guys are starters. Some of them may end up, getting traded later, going out of the minor leagues. But I just rattled off like pretty much an entire, I rattled off a baseball team to you.
Yeah.
And that's just the people they brought in. Now, granted, they got rid of people too.
Yeah.
Right. So they both the Mets and the Padres this year have really sort of said we're going for broke, and we're really just gonna put everything we can into fielding a team we think can win the World Series. Right. And I think with the pieces I already had there, especially the starting rotation, I think this team is on paper the best team in the National League East. Right. But I mean, I don't think that anyone other than the Mets or the Braves are going to win the division, provided they don't get injured, right? Which is always a question mark. You never know, right? But I think if there's some injuries and some things happen, any one of these 5 teams could win this division if things don't play out as you expect them to. If things play out as you expect it to, I say Mets and Braves are 1 and 2, could go either way. The Phillies and Nationals are 3 and 4. Again, could go either way. Well, you know what? Put Miami in that mix. I mean, 3, 4, 5. Any of those teams could be 3, 4, 5. But I think the Mets and the Braves are finishing 1, 2. That's my take on the division.
All right. So I'm not going to go into the full depth of the team because obviously we joke about it, but it's like I'm not doing that much research into them. However, based on what I do know about what I see here, I will probably be watching because I have the package that I got the streaming package and I can watch all the different games. I think I'll be watching a little bit of this division because obviously Soto, we know with Washington really it comes down. I'm going to be watching some Soto. I don't think that team is particularly good. I think they'll be a little better than last year, but not like a lot. I think their hangover from their World Series is that they basically used what they had left.
Yeah.
And Soto still has the opportunity to continue to grow as a hitter and get even better. That's a possibility. What's going to be an interesting X factor. So let me touch on this team. I'm going to touch on all the teams. So Washington's straightforward to me. I think they'll be better. They weren't horrific last year, but they weren't great.
No.
But they weren't horrific. Like they were 9 games back and they were the last place team. And they were 7-3 in their last 10 at the end of the season. So it's like they were not horrific. The Mets are interesting because as you said, they brought in a ton of players. Here's the problem. Sometimes you got it's a chemistry thing. You bring in 1 billion players, does that work as a combination? Well, one of the players that they've technically got back that they already had was Marcus Stroman because Stroman didn't really play during the, I believe, if memory serves me, I don't think he played during the COVID season at all. I believe he took it off. So, like, he'll be coming back. Here's the thing. I think Stroman has been in decline for a while. I don't think Stroman's going to be any good. That's just my opinion. My gut feeling is that Stroman is, like, net zero. So, or a negative. If I feel like I've seen enough from Stroman that I feel like he's declining, and I don't think it's going to get better, and I think he's going to hurt them a little bit.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of little pieces in there that I see. They're going to have to see what happens if they're able to get a little bit of better production. Because here's the reality: the New York Mets had to make a lot of moves because their record was tied with Washington, and Washington it just was decimated. Like Washington it's like, all right, we did everything we could. We won a World Series, but then everything fell apart. Like everything disintegrated around them, and even then, they had the same record as the Mets. So now Lindor, I think, is a huge addition. Huge. I think that makes him better. But whether that's enough with the rest of it, on paper, their rotation is, as you say, really good. But like I say, to me, Stroman is actually a chink in that armor. I don't think he's actually helping them. I don't believe so. Maybe he'll have a renaissance, and we'll see. But you've got Jacob deGrom, you've got Noel Syndergaard. Like they've got solid pieces to that rotation and the capability of being really good. Does that carry over this season? That's the question mark. But otherwise, to your point, I do like a lot of this division. I think Philadelphia will be a little better. And if that's the case, they may push those top teams. Miami, as you said, was a playoff team. I think they're still going to be good. I like Atlanta. To win that division still because I like a lot of their talent. That's why I say like this division might be one where I might be observing a little bit more than even I would normally do because I will be watching the Soto games. But I'm interested to see what happens with Philadelphia. I'm interested to see what happens with Atlanta.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's 3 teams that I may be peripherally observing out of the side of my eye here in this division.
Yeah, just for record's sake, the projected lineup for Philadelphia is Andrew McCutchen, Rhys Hoskins, Bryce Harper, JT Realmuto, Didi Gregorius, Alec Baum, Gene Segura, Odubel Herrera. And then whoever's pitching, obviously.
Yeah.
Because we do not have a universal DH this year.
Which sucks. I kind of wish they did. I really would have. I really would have enjoyed that. It's a shame. It's one of those things where I wish the league would get behind. Just do it. Like
Well, we'll
I think
see. I mean, right? With the something's going to happen, right? Something's got to give because this is the last year of the CBA. So,
absolutely agreed.
right. So enjoy this season of baseball, especially if you're a fan of Major League Baseball, because who knows what's going to happen come the end of this one. I have a feeling there's going to be some sort of work stoppage.
It could very well be. Like if we're being completely honest, that's the likelihood. I think. We're gonna have to see how that one plays out. I'm just taking a look here, just quickly scanning last year's statistics and information. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like let's revisit the Bryce Harper conversation because it's going to be kind of interesting. I think Harper's a little better than you give him credit for, and again, as a professional hater, see, I got to bring it in. As a professional hater, it's like I don't have too much issue with. Now, is he overpaid? I think yes. But is he a bad player?
But
Is he a
no,
bad
I'm not
player?
saying he's a bad player. I didn't say he was a bad player. I just said he's overrated. That's
That
different.
could be. But I guess it depends, though. Are we rating him in comparison to his salary? In which case, sure. But or are we rating him in relation to can he help this team? And the answer, I think, is yes.
Oh, I think so too.
Yeah, like I think he still helps this team, and he's got a power bat, and he hits for decent average with power. So he does give them a couple of things, and he's still young. Like I think he's only 28 now.
It's crazy to think because he's been around for so long, but he started when he was like 19, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's kind of like, oh yeah.
Well, here's the thing. It's weird because like he's got 232 career home runs. He's only 28, so it's like pretty good. We'll see. Like I would like to see him. I would like to see, especially since he is entering his late 20s, where he's still kind of in his prime. I think. I would like to see if he can show something similar to his 40 home run form.
Yeah.
If he could show a little bit of that, I think that would go a long way to like making the folks in Philadelphia a little more comfortable. Show that overall package. And then I think then we can reevaluate. But I kind of want to see what kind of a start he gets to this past. Last year is almost an aberration for everybody. I'm not going to put too much stock in it. But I'd like to see what that looks like with like a proper length season.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Philadelphia is interesting to me for that reason. And then, like I said, Atlanta, their potential is there. It's just, can they put the pieces together all at the same time? I'd like to see that. And it'll be interesting if Mike Soroka comes back as expected. I don't mind because I may have a gold early Mike Soroka card sitting there out of 10. That is like, if you want to pitch Cy Young Award caliber, I'm ready. I got you. So yeah, I am interested in this division though. There's a lot of things that I'm interested in. So there's like some things where I was like, I'll keep an eye on that. I'd like to see. But I still think, to me, I'll put Atlanta there right at the top. But I do think Philadelphia will play a little bit better and may challenge for that second spot for me.
Well, fair enough. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see. That's just my estimate, my guess, based on where we're at right now. Cool. Okay, anything else we want to tack on there at the end?
I don't think so. The only thing, obviously, I wanted to mention the Star Wars stuff, but we talked about that.
Yep.
I did enjoy the fact that you had a Star Wars versus Star Trek mini debate on one of your on the live streams. That was entertaining.
I believe we did. Yeah.
You did. It was good.
Yeah, but the thing is, like Dave, like I said, people don't sleep on the other live stream. That live stream it talks about sports cards. Yes, that's a key crux of the thing. But I don't know if you caught not this last one, but the one before that. There was an extended debate. There was a discussion on pizza. There was a discussion on. I don't even eat pizza. We still had a discussion on it.
I remember when you did eat pizza though that one time, and you're like, "This is the first time in like 6 years I've had pizza." We're like, "What?"
Yeah. Well, they were shocked too. But what I really did that blew their mind is that like I'm not a foodie. I'm not a food guy really that much. It doesn't excite me. But I do like Food Network. And like it almost made the one guy say, what? It's like, and I said, please. That's like the 87th most weird thing about me in the list of quirks.
I mean, it is weird. Yeah. But if you know Carlos, it's not like that weird.
Well, come on. The Dumpsters and Dives, the Guy Fieri show. You know the one with the food trucks?
Yep. Oh yeah.
That's a cool show. I like that show.
No man, it's funny because it was like I was watching Stanley Tucci's doing a thing on CNN. Right, he's going like Italy and doing food stuff, and right now, right. So I started watching that, and I was watching it, and at one point Megan's like, why aren't you watching that with me? And I was like, because you don't like Italy? She's like, yeah, but it's a food show. You know I love food shows. And I was like, okay, I guess we were watching it together now.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, no,
the
it's one of
food,
those,
the food show, it brings everybody in, man.
but
People who
the
like
thing,
food, people who don't like food, people who like
yeah,
the country, people who don't.
the interesting part for me is the explanation, bless you, of how they arrived at these ridiculous concoctions. Yeah, I'll give him a minute to choke on himself. But anyway, yeah, you're still muted. Still muted. Nope, still super muted. Yep, he unplugged himself.
Oh, because
Now you're good.
I have two ways to mute myself, apparently. I can mute on the computer or I can mute on the headphones.
Attaboy.
No, did you ever watch that other one? The, what's it, Grocery Games? Guys Grocery Games?
I might have. I don't recall that one as much, but I might have.
Basically, he's the same host, like Guy Fieri, and it's three.
Okay.
It starts off with three people, and they're in a grocery store, like a grocery store that's made up for the game. And he gives them like weird ingredients or certain things or specific instructions, right? And then they have to go find the time limit, go find stuff, and then cook something, and then present it to the judges. It's pretty cool too.
It feels like a modification of Iron Chef.
Yeah, kind of,
Secret
but
ingredient or whatever, but obviously with the scavenging, find the stuff.
Yeah. And then it's like each there's there's like a round with 3 of them, and then a round with 2 of them, and then a winner.
Yeah, but the thing is, like shows like that. Here's like I said, not being a superfood guy doesn't mean that I can't appreciate and be interested. Because as soon as they start explaining, they're like, okay, so we have this food truck where we're gonna do this Mexican food or whatever, Italian food or whatever in the food truck, and food truck means you're supposed to do something that's effectively fast food. But then they'll come up with like this weird concoction and like, how did you even think to put those things together?
Yeah, it's true.
I don't want to eat it, but I'm genuinely interested in how did you arrive at this destination from the ingredients you had to begin with? And that part is the part that's interesting to me. So that's kind of the appeal for stuff like that. And Iron Chef is just funny. I won't sit there like going out of my way to find it, but like if it's on, yeah, I'll watch it for a bit. And then there's the cake shows. We got the dessert one, like the Cake Boss or whatever. And then there's a couple. I don't think Cake Boss is on Food Network. I think it's another channel.
But I'm familiar with Cake Boss.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Apparently, though, I believe Cake Boss is opening a bakery around these parts.
Yes, they are. That's
yes, true. Well, one of my former colleagues told me about this, and I was like, "Really, Cake Boss guy?" And he go, "Yeah." Oh, well,
now, does that excite Carlos Senior?
Dude, you're discussing the inventor of Cake Day.
It's true.
I as soon as I explain it to him, he'll be like, "I will be right there. It's not even open."
He will be waiting outside. He'll be the first in line.
Like,
their stuff is good though. I went to the one at the Port Authority bus terminal on 42nd Street in New York City.
Okay.
Because they have a chain there. It is quite good.
I'm sure. You see, dessert I'm a little bit more interested in usually. Generally, dessert is a little more interesting to me because I do have a sweet tooth, so that kind of plays a little more into my sensibilities. But yeah, it'll be interesting. And if it's a thing, and the opportunity presents itself, I don't mind. I'll give it a go. These days I'll have...
Dude, and the place is called, you realize it's not called Cake Boss, right? It's called Carlos's Bakery.
Well, it's Carlos.
Oh, whatever.
That's the reason why,
But
but that's the reason they brought it up. It is you should have just said that you were leaving to run a bakery. And I was like, it's like, how do you know it's not part of my empire?
Exactly.
Right. It plays into everything else.
They actually have a cookie that just says Tom Brady sucks.
Bro. Wow. It's like, I will send you the cookie. Here you go. Eat it. Eat it.
Polly P, this is for you.
When will these children learn? When will they learn, Dave?
I don't know. Never. That's the one fun. That's the one fun thing about being old, though, Carlos, is you can always say, "When will they learn?"
You got to do the pose and everything. The thumbs
True.
Up it all plays into the branding. Yes, exactly. But you have any idea how condescendingly beautiful it is? You want to talk about trolling, bro? There is nothing more aggravating if somebody's legitimately mad, like somebody's like having a screaming fit in a chat, typing furiously. You can imagine they're like, "Arr!" And then like.
And the best part about chat is because it's a chat, it's so much easier to not get pissed off.
But the thing is, like, it could have been on video, and I would have gotten pissed off. I don't care that much, but I know it's infuriating you, and then me doing this is only making it worse.
Even better.
And it's like that's why when I showed you that clip, you saw the reaction. The other two knew where I was going with this. Like they could sense it. They were like, they're just sitting there and they're along for the ride.
Yeah.
They're like, we know what's gonna happen here. Like, just we'll help where we can. You do what you're doing. Yeah, that was at the tail end. That live stream was almost 6 hours.
Wow.
Like I was killing it, man. I was on fire. We were gonna wind it down, but it was like, Buddy wanted to have a little Brady debate at the end. It's like, dude, if you just let it go, we're done. Let it go. Move on with your life.
Yeah.
Go defend Tom somewhere else. Anyway, so yeah, but I you know what, at the tail end I got to have my fun before I called it a night. So I was like, okay, that's fine. It's all good. So anyway, I think that'll be it. We even get a little trolling seminar, a little explanation on the proper science of trolling.
Indeed.
Yeah, we got a little bit of taste of that. So we'll be back. Last piece will be the American League East, which will lead us seamlessly because right after that, opening day, April the 1st.
That's correct.
April
That's
the 1st.
correct.
So right on time, we nailed it, even though we completely forgot about it. And I'll be honest, when you sent me a text message, I was thinking about what I was going to make for dinner, and I was like, oh, crap. That's why I gave myself a couple extra minutes. Like, let me grab a snack. Hold on. Now I will properly make dinner.
All right,
shortly.
then. Enjoy that, Carlos.
I will. All right, so that's it for episode 88 of the Unnecessary Nonsense Podcast. We will be back. I will get Dave to ping me mercilessly so I can put the damn thing on audio. Otherwise, go watch the YouTube channel, for God's sake. You get to see.
It's true.
You don't get that on audio.
And we're not going to tell you what that is
Exactly.
unless you watch it.
You do not get that. And you don't get to see the new studio, which is the same studio, but on a different angle.
Correct.
Bruh. Doesn't it feel more sportif?
It totally does.
Like-
It's perfect for unnecessary nonsense.
It feels legit. That's right. Anyway, so we'll be back with that, and we will, I'm sure we'll come up with some more silliness. There'll be more Young Goat King.
Kind of what we do.
Yep. It literally is what we do. Yes, correct. All right, so that's it for us.